Hello, my friends, and welcome to Secret Transmissions Podcast. This one is going to be quite the fun one. So, relax, make yourself a cocktail. That's what we've done. And we're going to start to talk about Star Wars hot takes, and who knows where it's going to go. I'm sure we're going to give each other some crap through all of this, and it's just going to be one wild ride. I know. And I just want to bring everybody out right now because let's just do this. So we have, of course, we've got Christina Booba Fett.
Hello.
We have from Duel of the Ranks, we have Amanda and Brody. And of course, the hot takes on TikTok. We've got JJ. I know we're already like, oh no, what are we about to do? I'm gonna take my. Well, I mean, I will hopefully be friends by the end of this. That's my hope. The takeaway.
Fingers crossed.
The one thing I do want to say before we get started, first of all, like this video so people start to see it, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, we're gonna talk some crap about some Star Wars stuff. Just keep in mind that we all love Star Wars, and if we're talking about something that you love and we're crapping on it, we still love it. It's I just want to put that out there so nobody feels bad. After a few sips of this, it's no holds barred. But let's do a little roundtable of where we can find everybody on the socials. Let's start with you, Christina.
You can find me on TikTok, where I post the most, under where you see Booba Fett. That's exactly what you type in, and you'll find me. And then Instagram, I think it's the same, but I don't really post very much on there.
And of course, we've got Duel of the Ranks. Where can we find? Well, that one's obvious, but where can we find you?
Yeah, everywhere at Duel of the Ranks, anything, almost any platform, and just Google Duel of the Ranks on Google, and you'll find all our stuff.
Yeah, we're the only one.
We're like
the real Duel of the Ranks.
Yeah, well, there's no one competing with us.
Yeah.
So it's like we tell ourselves we're number one, but we're also in last.
Yeah.
There's no one else. So.
And of course, on your podcast, you do hot takes and stuff like that.
Yes,
so
that is the name of our game.
You're already primed. And JJ.
Yep. Yes,
JJ,
hi. You can find me under ladydragonJJ on TikTok mostly. I am on Twitter. I do tweet a lot under same username, and I do post on Instagram, but not as much on TikTok. So you can find me there if you like nerdy things.
Nerdy things. I mean, JJ is known for hot takes as well. In fact, everybody here is known for hot takes. And of course, hello there. Who else is out there, by the way, in the chat? Give a little shout out. But I specifically got people that I knew would bring the hot takes and not fear giving opinions. So as far as hot takes are concerned, Josh, of course we got Mace Wind. Yes, I gotta have you on here at some point. By the way,
Hi.
Mace.
Hi, Josh.
Yeah. But I'll reach out because that's another person who's got some great hot takes. So is there? Yeah, but in the best kind of way. And of course, Josh, a lot of the stuff you've been posting this week trying to deal with people. I salute you. Today I posted about Grey Jedi. And like on TikTok, it was fine. On Instagram, people were like, but Grey Jedi.
Just dig your own grave. Yeah.
It's never going to die.
It's never gonna die.
Blocking for punishment.
But it came up in another one. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna post about Grey Jedi. I'm about gonna make a video soon about Mary Sue. That one's gonna come up again. Oh yeah, bring it on.
Ooh.
Bring that battle. I'm
Ooh.
ready.
Tag me in. Make sure I got your back. Tag me in on that one.
Me too.
I think all of us are.
Just like Duel of the Ranks. There's no one talking about that. No one's talking about any Star Wars characters being a Mary Sue, so that'll be a good conversation.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
Ever.
It's never
Never
happened.
No.
It is never happened. It's like
Never.
Star Wars is too woke because it's political now. Because This is
Absolutely.
the first time Star Wars has ever been political. Am I right?
Ever.
So,
which is weird.
So just to kick things off, besides Grey Jedi, because I'm pretty sure we all know that's a load of BS. But and if you're in the chat right now and you're like, but Grey Jedi, go watch the video. It's cool. I used to think Grey Jedi were a thing before I actually got into it.
It's the purpose of the Force. I can't handle it.
See, we're already getting angsty here.
It breaks the lore. It breaks the
lore.
It breaks the lore.
In my video I had to say like George Lucas's Star Wars like 50 times, so that like fanboys who are all about George Lucas but still love Grey Jedi. It's like, but George Lucas's Star Wars, you can't go against George, right?
Absolutely.
To get things started, does anybody have a good hot take to start with? Because I'm ready. I see it, Christina.
Han Solo is super overrated. He is super overrated. He is the least interesting character, possibly in all of the movies. I'm not saying he's not likable or that I don't love him. He kind of sucks. Okay, he's not that great.
Hot
But
take.
when I think of okay, you said least likable, or can you clarify one more time?
He's the least interesting character.
Least interesting.
He's very likable, but he's the least interesting. He's just a fucking space boy. Excuse my language, but he is. He's just
like anyone could have been a Han Solo. He's sort of like just the ragtag one, like thrown in there for personality and good looks.
Hold on, you're not agreeing.
But I get it though.
I like him. So don't get me wrong. So I'm saying I like him.
I do like him.
You've turned her against me.
He's just super overrated. He's so overrated.
It's just nice to look at.
You know what's funny about Han Solo? Like, had George Lucas left the whole he shot Greedo first, he would have been way more interesting knowing that. There's that, part of him, but now that's like not a thing apparently, but it is a thing. Let's be real. He shot first. But
now we've got
Han shot first. Is that a hot take?
McClunky.
Is that a hot take?
Oh.
I think people are starting to kind of lean towards that a little bit. I mean, I love Han because that's what I literally grew up with, but he becomes pointless in the original, like so much so where Harrison Ford's just like just kill him, just kill me off, and then it took like another 30 years for him to like finally get to kill off Han Solo.
Back?
Yeah,
it's like you're paying me, okay?
I'm just saying.
That was hot. I mean, yeah, that's a hot take for me. I think he's a part of the greatest, for me, sacrificial moment in Star Wars history when he goes out on that bridge to confront Kylo Ren. Oof. That scene, I don't think there's ever a scene in Star Wars where I've had even a small tear, and that was it. Everyone knew he was going to die. He probably knew. Of course,
Harrison came back to die.
Yeah, he came back to die, and that scene, no music necessary. Just Kylo and Harrison Ford, two. I mean, these actors, Adam Driver, they just crushed that scene.
Yeah.
And for all of his other faults, and he's just kind of like you said, he's had a lot of filler moments. That scene for me, I'm like, cemented him as a top. And it's in The Force Awakens, of all things, which, it's my favorite Star Wars movie, so that's its own hot take. But otherwise, yes, I love Han Solo.
He sort of just serves as kind of the comedic backbone, and he wouldn't necessarily be a character if he didn't have Chewie. Like, I don't think he can stand alone. Like, he needs some sort of sidekick to make him interesting.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
And Chewie's the more interesting character, if I may.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I love Chewie.
Hot take: Han is Chewie's pet.
Yes.
And no one mentioned the Solo movie either, by the way, which I also think is funny. I don't love that movie, but I think it's funny. It didn't even get a mention.
I was the first person to crap on that, and then I had so much fun watching that movie, though, if I'm being perfectly honest. I actually enjoyed that movie and did not think I was going to. And I interrupted JJ. I'm so sorry.
No, I was going to pile on that and offer a hot take about Solo.
Go ahead.
Personally, I think it's better than Rogue One, and the only thing that drags it down is L3 treatment.
I love L3.
Wait, L3 treatment in what way? Because I am an L3 stan. Like, I am enlisting L3 in my army to like take over the world.
Can I join you?
Yes.
Chopper and
definitely.
L3.
I will go to war. I will go to trenches with you because
Chopper and L3. Yeah, definitely.
The thing with L3 to me in Solo, like it's first lead, I'm gonna use that word too, female coded droid that talks about autonomy, that talks about rights, and it's treated like a punchline, like a joke, only for her to be ripped apart, taken her voice away, and jammed into Millennium Falcon, where she loses all of her voice and all of the agency that she was preaching throughout the whole movie. And there isn't like a minute of that movie that devotes time to actually explore that because we're too fucking busy. Sorry, excuse me.
As she takes another sip.
With Chewie and Han, like entering Millennium Falcon, it's like this cool fan moment. We don't have time to grieve for L3 and to feel Lando's emotions as she fucking dies and becomes nothing but a machine, essentially, something she fought against her entire existence. And it rubs me the wrong way, but I love that movie because it's a lot of fun. Like Alden is great, Kira is great. I love even Darth Maul appearance at the end. Like I'm a Maul stan, so I love. Like there's so many cool things in that movie. It's got Queen Daenerys in it. Like I can go on, but like that part kills me. It absolutely like destroys me.
I'm still mad that movie is fun. I'm still mad about it. It's one of my most watched Star Wars movies, if I'm being honest.
It's thematically much to me better than Rogue One, which is just a very fast-paced movie, but like Solo's got actual themes in there.
That's a hot take to say that Solo's better than Rogue One. I admire your take on it, and especially the L3. Like I hadn't watched that movie in a while now, so like you kind of regurgitating that breaks my heart all over.
I'm sorry.
And Phoebe Waller-Bridge is like one of my favorite people of all time, and so yeah. Like she really brought that droid to life for me and was truly like one of the first droids that I felt like super connected to.
Like it just, to me, like it just rubs me the wrong way. The first female coded droid is treated like a joke for wanting rights. Yeah. Like it just don't stay right with my spirit.
Yes, no, I think that's a great take. But that kind of does lead into one of my hot takes.
Well, hold on. We gotta address. She said Solo is better than Rogue One. We don't just leave that alone. That's just wrong. It's wrong. That's not right. Are you agreeing?
I'm right.
We don't just
You're
move
wrong.
I personally disagree. I think Rogue One is better.
Okay.
I don't. I'm. You know.
But yeah,
we can't just leave that. And moving on. No.
No, I ranked Rogue One for the longest time in my bottom 10.
Whoa!
I only recently became a Rogue One truther because I gave it a chance again and I watched it 2 more times.
Post Andor or pre Andor?
Pre Andor, they had it in like IMAX back in September, so I watched it again and I watched it again on Disney Plus, and I really gave it a chance because to me it's so fast moving, it's fast paced, and like too many characters. It's a MacGuffin chaser again. And again, we're exploring something we already know. And I'm so sick of Death Star in Star Wars. If I see another Death Star or Star Destroyer, I'm going to lose my mind. So it was me being a bit unfair. And then the Darth Vader hallway scene, as cool as it is such a non-moment, so unnecessary. It's like movie has no confidence to stand on its own. Here's a Vader scene and it completely undermines it. So it really throws me for a loop. So I had it ranked really low for a long, long time. And I fought on TikTok with people over it. And then like I watched the movie again and I read Catalyst, I read Rebel Rising. And I'm like, wait a minute. And then Andor, I'm like, I have a new appreciation for it. Does that make sense? So
yes.
Yeah.
See, I think objectively Rogue One is a better movie, but Solo is more fun. And I will watch it more often, mostly because it's not going to rip my soul out of my body and make me sad at the end of the day. But objectively, I think the storyline was better. It reminds me of old Japanese samurai movies, which is kind of what Star Wars is based off of anyway. But like it's more dramatic. It is more, yes, we meet these characters briefly. That's kind of the point. I got attached to everybody, but I'm also autistic, so maybe that's why. I don't know. I got more attached to everybody. I like all of the characters, especially Chirrut. He's one of my favorites, like non-main Star Wars storyline characters. I love him. But Solo is way more fun to watch over and over again. Yeah.
We have Rogue One rated as the best Star Wars movie of all time, which
Wow.
I did not want to put it there for many reasons, but it does exist from our collective of voters. It ranked #1, and it exists for us on our website there. So
how is this? Was it ranked by a vote? Is that?
Yes. So Duel of the Ranks, we rank all of our content based on 5 categories: the story, characters, technical aspects, which can include like choreography and cinematography.
Okay.
Then we have the music and immersive universe.
Meaning like how many other elements from Star Wars?
Yeah, like does it expand on it? Does it like bring through lines together? And then we give like a score based on each of those categories and accumulate it. So even if it's not necessarily like my personal favorite thing, I try to be objective and
critical lens.
Yes, give it that critical lens. So Rogue One is definitely one of my favorite movies. My personal favorite Star Wars film is a hot take. It's The Last Jedi.
I think
is that
a
good gasp or a bad gasp?
No, I think you just got a new best friend.
Did we just become best friends?
Yep.
L3 and The Last Jedi? Oh my God.
You're going to replace me as a host.
I am.
I see where this is going.
I am a Last Jedi truther. I have everything.
I also am a Last Jedi truther. One of my hot takes, I guess I'll go into now, is that old man Luke is the best version of Luke Skywalker.
I'm gonna cry.
I really find Luke insufferable in the original trilogy. He is, dare I say, a Mary Sue. I feel like we should have probably banned that word before we jumped in here, but he really, even in like Return of the Jedi, which is my favorite of the original trilogy, he starts to get a little darker, but his character is so flat for the most part, and it's not until The Last Jedi where he actually becomes a relatable character, where you're like, he's a human man that is flawed, just like every other lesson the Jedi have been trying to be taught this whole time. And man, people really like to hate on that movie, but I think it did the most for Luke Skywalker.
Luke and Rey Nobody are 2 best parts of that movie. Period.
Yes.
That's it. That's all I wanted to add to that.
When I first saw The Last Jedi, like having grown up with Luke since I was barely born in the 70s, but like I grew up with that original trilogy, and it was like I wanted to be Luke Skywalker back then. So seeing Luke in The Last Jedi, I didn't necessarily have a problem with him being crabby or anything like that. Like it's basically like he was kind of pulling a Yoda at that point. And I was like, oh, okay, what goes around comes around, like pay it forward type of like training. What I wanted in that and I'm okay with now the way they did it, but what I wanted was a different way to Luke to go out. I was okay with Luke going out, but like, okay, the him just being transparent versus like him actually being in person. I wanted him in that movie to lift the X-Wing out of the water and not just have it crammed into Rise of Skywalker, and like for like 2 seconds. Like for me, like that could have been such an emotional moment. Although it would have just been rehashing Empire Strikes Back. So I'm okay. I'm okay with it now. What I still to this day cannot stand is the Canto Bight storyline. And the whole reason
I love the Canto Bight storyline.
I don't have a problem with it.
The reason why it drives me nuts is that like there's a time counting down where all their friends are gonna die. Like they're gonna be toast within like 6 hours, and then like they go out and have some meaningful like, well, we can't find him. Let's have a meaningful conversation. And then at the end of it, when they escape on the Fathiers, and it's like, oh well, it was worth it. It felt good. It's like your friends are still gonna die. Like what? That's what drives me nuts. It's not.
Well, that's fair.
It's kind of like fair. What happened to your motivation? You're like, well, at least we released some Fathiers. That's cool. All our friends are gonna die still. The resistance will be gone. And I know there are people out there that love it, but go ahead.
My defense of the Canto Bight scene is that it's the first time in a Star Wars film where we see the prophet of war. and the commercialization and wealthy people that benefit and pay no mind to being affected by the war whatsoever. And nowhere else on the galaxy that we visited has been so untouched by war like this. And it brought a new perspective. The scene with like the long pan in that Rian Johnson does is probably my favorite scene in like all of Star Wars. It's so meticulously well done. When we were at Celebration, we attended the Creature Cantina exhibit, cool. And they talked about how much goes into each of those creature costumes. And for every person in a costume, there's like 3 or 4 more people on the side that are like brushing the hair, fixing this, fixing that. So I think they said there was like 65 different characters in that one singular scene. Just the logistics of that being pulled off and being a spectacle. I love when Star Wars is weird aliens, and it just delivered on all that.
To me, like the whole Canto Bight sequence also is such a callback to prequels. Like the rich, unassumingly rich, but still profiting off of war. Like you have those themes explored in the prequels, because the sequels sort of really avoid conversations about the Clone Wars and the prequel era, which I thought was very jarring, because it's all happening like in a short span. This isn't like 100 years later. So to me, it was it's an interesting callback to tie prequels back into the sequel era, because it just aggressively avoids it. So, but there are a couple of things that are a bit you can question. Like, why are they having these meaningful conversations? But at the same time, I'm like, are they like aggressively searching for the code maker? They know who it is. They just have to kind of get him out. You know what I mean? So there's like moments of break for them to do that. Yeah, I mean, it's weird. And Star Wars to me has always been really best when it's weird, I guess.
Yeah.
And again, in the Broom Boy introduction, and the ending moment of The Last Jedi is probably the greatest shot in Star Wars.
And then Rise of Skywalker fucking destroys it.
Oh my God.
So mad.
Immediately.
I love Broom Boy. That means we're all Skywalkers. We're all Skywalkers. All of us. It's the fucking point of Broom Kid. And then they destroy it in the last movie. Oh my God, it makes me so angry. Now I'm mad about Star Wars again.
And the conversations are even funnier about the Broom Boy. Oh, when is he gonna show up again? Who is he? Like, who gives a fuck?
We need a whole back series on Broom Boy.
Who's his dad? Exactly. Who's his dad? Did he hug his mom when he was 4? Is he gonna be a dark? Like, who gives a shit? Like, you can just take a theme for what it is. It's like we're all like searching for hope, and there's a glimmer of it in the sky. And Rian Johnson is showing you that, and you're like, but who's his mom? Well, who gives a fuck? It just annoys me. Like, it's a beautiful moment, and people tend to ruin it with too much talking, like I'm doing right now. But anyway.
I mean, does anybody here like The Rise of Skywalker? Are there any Rise of Skywalker fans?
I want to so much.
There's things about it that are good, but like overall, it's my least favorite Star Wars movie.
Yeah, I think that's the one hot take, non-hot take that we can all agree on.
Just so sad. It's got the greatest bones, I feel like. Look, if someone were to tell you all this stuff's gonna happen, you're like, oh my gosh, buckle up, and then you watch it and you're like
I feel like I have amnesia.
Yeah, I'm dead inside. Exactly.
I'm dead inside.
The biggest mistake that
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna say the biggest mistake that Disney has ever made is have J.J. Abrams try to finish something.
Yes.
In his entire career, he has never been able to successfully finish something. He could start something. I've got these ideas. I'm gonna throw them at the wall, and then
really
like it just goes off the rails, and it just ends horrible, and everybody's pissed off.
Completely.
Like Lost was amazing. I loved Lost, and then like the last couple seasons, I was like, what the hell?
It was it was nonsense. It was
Lost,
nonsense.
Alias. I mean, you name it. It's just all. It just completely crumbles. Like he's not a finisher.
No, never.
And the thing with The Force Awakens, and I think we're tricked into. And don't get me wrong, I love The Force Awakens. I think it's a very well-paced movie. It's a fun movie. Like I have a lot of joy rewatching. I feel like Han dying always like really strikes me pretty sadly. But like, it is a New Hope rehash. Just with new character, which is fine. I love New Hope. I rank it really high. But like, that's what it is. He has no original thought in his head. So he just throws shit at the wall, whatever sticks. And most of it just doesn't stick because he doesn't know how to finish and close it out. So
he's good at nostalgia.
Nostalgia baiting.
And that's
it.
what the new Star Trek
The Rise of Skywalker is a glaring example of that. Yeah, basically, that's what I hear.
And what I was gonna say about Rise of Skywalker, like the idea of the Emperor returning, while it's kind of lame, it is, but it could have been really good. And I know this because we have the Thrawn trilogy, and like the whole thing with the clones and that could have been better. It was just kind of thrown out there, like it wasn't like leading up to, which they're fixing now with Mandalorian, of course. But like before that, it was like, what the hell?
They haven't even planted anything to signal his return. Like, just suggest anything, and then
that's why every time Poe says somehow Palpatine return, I literally guffaw because I'm like, it's, and you know that when he said that line, he probably was thinking the same thing, like, what the hell?
Did you see Oscar Isaac's face? Is like, this is the script. This is 40 years of saga.
You're paying me how much money to say this line?
And like, people think I have an issue with that line post. I don't have a problem with Post saying it. I have a problem with him existing in this movie, Palpatine in general. I don't care that Poe doesn't want to explain cloning science. And then like the Lost friend from Lost, that replaced Rose Tico, JJ.
Oh yeah,
he's like, cloning only secret Sith knew. I'm like, seriously, shut the fuck up. Like, explain it. Show me. Don't tell me. Like, it drives me nuts.
Since we're on the topic of Rise of Skywalker, my hot take that, okay, so first of all, I need people to be normal, as JJ says, okay? Because I am terrified of Reylos. They scare me because they get real defensive, like to the point where I'm like, I didn't say anything bad. I just said I don't like this. I fucking hate the kiss. I hate it. It makes my skin burn. I hate it so much. I feel like if they would have touched foreheads or like something they can be romantic, that's fine. The kiss destroyed my soul. Like, I hated it so much, I wanted to throw up. Like, it bothered me so bad. And not just because and I also just feel like Rey deserved better. I don't know. I don't like it. I like Ben and I like Rey individually. I think they're both very awesome characters. I feel like that cheapened their relationship because it wasn't earned either, like in my opinion. There's just a lot. I don't like it. I hate it. I wish it could have been done differently. But him sacrificing himself is fine. That's not a big deal to me. Like, that's beautiful. I don't
see
like kiss.
The sacrifice itself is very much, and I always say this, and I've said this quite a bit, like, the Rise of Skywalker breaks Joseph Campbell's monomyth because he likes to explore American monomyth, which is redemption through death, which is it can be bleak, it can be kind of like, it's very American versus the Joseph Campbell's monomyth, which George Lucas uses as a framework for these stories, which is why the Rise of Skywalker to me breaks the lore. It just, you can't fix that. So with Kylo dying, to sacrifice himself, I just did nothing for me personally, because you don't redeem yourself by thinking about your dad forgiving you. That's not how this works. You know what I mean? Like, you can't forgive yourself. You can't forgive yourself after 10 minutes literally trying to murder somebody, and all of a sudden you're this good person. Because again, the movie's so rushed. It just wants to finish so badly. And I don't I like Rey and Kylo. I am a Reylo, if you want to call me that. Like, it feels like almost like a slur online. I swear to God. But
I know.
But I genuinely don't give a fuck. It's not real. It's just a fictional couple. But like, the kiss was terrible because it's unearned. I like, romance should be earned. Death should be earned. Consequences need to be earned. Things need to happen for you to have an action at the end or consequence at the end. All of it was just like slapped together to wrap it up. He doesn't even get a Force ghost. He just disappears, and she's happy the next second after somebody. Anyway, I can go in a whole thing.
It feels like this was thrown in there just to appease the Reylos.
It was. You 100%.
And it was like, this is not earned in any way, shape, or form.
No, but the whole film is doing that. Oh, Chewbacca's dead. No, he's alive. Don't forget. Then this person's dead. No, he's alive. Like, all these fake outs to emotionally manipulate you. It is a lazy MacGuffin chasing nightmare film that needs to die a painful death because it killed Star Wars. It absolutely murdered the lore, and I can't have it. I am its biggest enemy, and I will remain that.
I know we got Chase in the comments who loves Rise of Skywalker. If you want to type in any
I'm sorry you have
Chase.
taste, dude. I'm sorry. I'm kidding. I'm joking. I love you.
When I was watching Rise of Skywalker for the first time, it just, everything like went by so fast. I'm like, I can't keep up what's going on. We're literally hyperspace skipping through every single plot point. And you're pushing like 3 movies into one movie. Like, all the emotional moments that should have been like when we come see Luke, that should have been a bigger moment. That's like, here's a lightsaber and X-wing. bye. It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
I did love the idea of a dyad in the Force, though. I don't think it was well explained in the movie, but I did love that aspect.
That was cool.
It was set up through the 3 movies, but
agreed.
Yeah. But it just wasn't explained well, and the only reason I'm upset about that is because I have to keep explaining it on social media. And that gets
it's a cool concept. It's like the movie tried to do something. Yeah. They tried to do something new with the Force, which we haven't seen. I'm like, let's put these 2 characters that have a really deep connection and we haven't seen it, but we're not going to do anything with it. It'll be brief flashes of things. When you could have slowed down the movie, cut out 4 of the planets and 7 of the MacGuffins, and maybe cut out half of the characters and really focus on the trio, their connections, what the Force dyad is. Like, there was a lot of meat in that movie, and they didn't do anything with it, and that's what frustrates me, because potential was there.
Yeah. Now, speaking of bad directing decisions, I've been a Boba Fett diehard fan since I was like 5-6 years old. Jango Fett came in 8 years old, in love with all of it. And then Robert Rodriguez comes along and has the audacity to give us the most badass moment in Star Wars history. In Mandalorian Season 2, The Tragedy, Boba Fett comes down with a gaffy stick, wrecks people, puts on that armor, and it is game over. The most badass moment, 30, 60 seconds in Star Wars history, and it creates hope. He's got an amazing theme. You're really interested, like, what's going to happen with him and Fennec Shand? The Book of Boba Fett's coming out. We're getting some sort of Godfather-esque Star Wars series, and it's going to be amazing. And then we got what we got. And it was so Boba Care Bear soft shit that I don't know how to piece it together. And then Mando comes along and is just like, I will save this show. And I'm like, Robert, my take is he should not be allowed to direct any Star Wars property ever again. And if he does, I'm done. I'm done with it. Not watching it. I'm out. I'm boycotting it. It's over. That's my hot take. Robert Rodriguez, you're off the set for good.
I mean, Boba does give a good Care Bear
Not
stare.
allowed to push back. Not allowed to push back.
and your Mighty Morphin Power Rangers vehicles. Yeah, I mean,
the slow speed chase.
My daughter loved that though, and so I had to give it credit because like little kids liked it. And honestly, Star Wars at the end of the day is for everybody. And so like I was like, that was her favorite part. She still talks about it. Like she wants one of those things. Like the speeder bikes. So I was like, okay, I thought it was silly, but then again, so was a lot of the original trilogy. Yeah. So I was like, I'll let it slide. Like whatever. Like that's not for me, and that's fine. They were a little silly, I thought. I even made fun of it, but like my kid liked it. So
to me, it has like 2 main issues. Book of Boba Fett, which I enjoyed for the most part. I'm a Boba truther. I will take anything with Tamir Morrison, like his Boba Fett. I love him so much. Phrygian of Tuscans, like right at the beginning, did not like that. Sort of build his motivations and his character. You could have built an entire season of like Tatooine folklore and lore and myth, and really talk about the tribes and how they coexist with each other. And Boba being sort of as a vessel to go through all those motions. And then all of a sudden he gets hijacked by Mandalorian and Grogu and Phrygian of Tuscans. Like those are my 2 glaring issues with the Book of Boba Fett. I think it had a lot of cool things. Like I think Tamir Morrison looks like he was having like the best time. Like he was really enjoying and having fun with the characters. I didn't mind the speeder bikes at all. I thought they were campy and weird. Again, Star Wars is supposed to be as weird as hell, and it really was weird. Like Bantha's awesome. The Rancor was amazing and all. I loved all of that. Lack of Fennec Shand at the end and just her general characterization has bothered me because like her and Cara Dune, I'll take her as an example because she was an addition into the Mandalorian universe. And even now a bit with Bo-Katan, and like they seem very one-dimensional. There isn't a whole lot of character exploration when none of these women, which I kind of irks me to no end. Like I was hoping for more Boba and Fennec Shand in the Book of Boba Fett, and I got none of that. So, and that was painful. But other than that, like I enjoyed it just because I love Tamir Morrison. But Phrygian of the Tuscans and Mando 2.5, I hated it. I couldn't do without that.
Yeah, my main thing is like the build up for the first several episodes. Like I'm like, oh, okay, we're getting some character development. We're doing this backstory. I'm like, okay, how many times can we do back to tank flashbacks? But and that started to get a little too repetitive. But I'm like, okay, character growth, and he's gonna become this new version of Boba and be badass. And then like before you get to see anything like that, it's got like detours. And then when it comes back, you barely get any Boba like focus. It's kind of like, oh, he's got his band together. It's got Mando and also Boba. And so like it just detoured too much away from the character that we didn't really get to have that nice flow, to have that satisfying payoff. And yes, he has some badass moments in the finale, but it doesn't have that flow, so you don't get that emotional payoff. You were it was too disjointed for that.
And again,
sense.
Yeah.
At the detriment of Mandalorian show on its own, because after season 2, like him and Grogu are reunited after 2 minutes because the show didn't want to commit. God forbid they have a character struggle, a bit of conflict, a bit of missing somebody. No, they're back together after and all of that.
And all the people who didn't watch that show,
they're like, what?
How'd they get back together? The amount of explaining, they're like, you're a Star Wars fan, Broderick. How did this? I'm like,
are you a real fan? Did you watch Book of Boba Fett?
Yeah, people will be like, do I need to watch Book of Boba Fett before Mando? And I'm like, you got to watch like one episode,
and then
that's it.
There's an episode of Mando in there you got to watch, and then you're
which is strange. Which is you shouldn't do that with these stories. It's crazy.
Bonkers.
I always said that I thought that The Mandalorian as a series could have done really well as like an anthology that followed a different Mandalorian each season.
Ooh.
So like Boba Fett could have been the titular Mandalorian of season 2, and then you get a different one and a different one, and I thought that'd be a cool way to showcase the different clans and factions, and maybe they like interact with each other, but that was too creative of an idea.
Yeah.
Although I argue they kind of did do that.
Oh,
yeah,
like
yes, it's Din's
Bo-Katan.
story, but like it's still, we had Boba Fett in season 2, and then we had season 2. Am I correct?
Yeah.
And then we have Bo as the kind of focus, and like Mandalore as a whole in season 3. I feel like they kind of did do that.
But
I wish they would have leaned into it a little
they
more.
didn't correct. They didn't want to commit to any of it.
Right.
It was just like throwing everything together and just we like have everything, but we have nothing. Like at the same time. That's
I kind
sort
of
what
blame
felt to me.
fans for that too. Like I'm not.
Agreed.
Obviously, the creators have to have some responsibility. I'm not saying that, but I'm like the way that fans are. I feel like they don't know what the hell to do because we complain about everything, like everything. And I mean, collectively, we as fans.
That's why we're here right now.
Just us.
Well, like holy crap! Like it has to be pretty hard to figure out exactly where to go. And honestly, the EU back when I used to read the books, when there was nothing else, was also just like this. It was like, okay, what storylines do I choose to go with because they don't suck, versus the ones that are like, why is this again plot thrown at the wall? That looks cool. We're gonna go with that. Like, I don't know. I'm hoping it gets more cohesive.
Oh, preach.
Especially now that I know there's like a movie at the end of it. Like, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I don't understand is like how the first season of Mando, he was a character. We were like, there's a lot of questions, and we're really getting to like him, and he saved like Frog Lady's village, and you should like live there because like you two should like totally become like a thing. And then season 2, they're like, we're just gonna focus on all these other characters now and bring them in. And people like myself are like, Boba's back, Ahsoka's here, Luke Skywalker, okay, whatever. Like you're so excited about the moment. And season 3 are like, you're gonna jump back like into his story though, right? And they're like, what about Bo-Katan? You want to know about Bo-Katan? I'm like, well, I do, but like, is he even relevant in his own show now? Is the question.
I mean, he was sort of a side character throughout.
He doesn't want to be the main character. That's what's hilarious. He's a want to be the main character.
It's like, I don't want this dark saber. Somebody else take it.
I don't want any of this.
That's a good point.
Can I just like go bounty hunting and doing things? That's literally how I kind of read Din Djarin, and he just happens to be thrust upon a role of a dad and protecting a youngling, and everything else is happening to him. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that sort of story, which I don't mind. I like those kinds of stories that are just journey. Like, do I need a destination to everything? No, not really. Like, as long as it's interesting, as long as the journey is interesting. But like this third season, like it's just so overstuffed with like gazillion characters, more MacGuffins, more themes, and none of it is actually explored on any like non-superficial level. It felt everything feels so shallow to me right now. It's in the Mandalorian universe. Like he has no guts. Like he just backtracks on everything he's trying to do. Oh look, he's separated from Grogu. No, they're back. He's an apostate. Now 2 seconds later, he's no longer an apostate. IG-11 sacrifices himself. Nah, screw that. He's back together. He's cooler than ever. Like it's just there's just no commitment. There's no nothing to it. Like,
and we've talked about how like, oh, Moff Gideon, it was probably a clone that died. Oh. So like he's probably gonna come back, or like
because he didn't have a mustache.
Yeah, like
mustache gate. Yeah.
Or the dark saber. Like how long until the dark saber comes back? Who wants to place bets?
Well, especially because what's his name? The saber droid's going to be in Ahsoka.
Huang.
I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. No. I'm just saying that maybe we have the armor and him. So
I can't remember his name.
Huang.
He just said it. Thank you. I can see it spelled out in my head, but I don't dare pronounce it because I'm like, I'm not going to mess that up.
See, all these problems that I felt for so long, like I kind of bury them, and JJ's just bringing them all back up, and I'm like, yeah, and Obi-Wan, why did that suck? Why did you? All these things.
Oh,
I'm like,
I'm a Kenobi truther. I love that show.
Oh,
I also love Kenobi.
All these feelings.
A couple weeks ago on the podcast, Brody kind of went in on like the writers' room and how like you know we're in the middle of the writers' strike right now, and that'll of course like be noticed in like the next year or so as we're waiting for more content to come out. But we also don't really know what goes on in those writing rooms and how like quickly they are supposed to like just make something and it's all torn apart and all this stuff, and they're not really given like the best creative opportunities to tell probably a story that they individually like really would want to say, and then production and like all of the other big wigs get into it and are picking it apart. So like I do think that Disney's just too focused on the current discussion of it all and pleasing everybody that it's sort of lost its like firm stake in the ground. Personally,
yeah, I agree.
No, I'll agree.
I can agree on that.
So what's the
Which
solution?
is why I'm kind of excited about the end of the movie, though. Like I am kind of excited if they stick to that and they actually do that to see how it all culminates at the end. Like I am curious to see.
I am less interested in a Mandalorian movie. Like why? Yeah. Personally,
I don't think it's supposed to be like necessarily like.
I think it's going to be a group.
It is supposed to be.
It's going to be a.
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
Like an Avengers, and that makes even like upsets me so much more.
I love it.
That makes my kidney turns inward. I swear to God.
That's what the Star Wars movies are, though. I like it. I think that's the point of Clone Wars. The point of Rebels is to have all of these. The Star Wars universe is vast, and all of these characters make it one big thing.
But we could also
so I'm excited to see that.
Any other characters in any other timeline from a long time ago in any other galaxy far, far away.
But we also still have that too. We have that also, though. We have High Republic. We have Andor. We have other stories that don't necessarily culminate in this particular movie that he's talking about.
And we're getting more of them.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'll take the Rey movie over Mandoverse movie any day.
I'm really excited about the Rey movie. I am very excited about that because
and the Acolyte, as you had just said,
and I'm going to live for that.
Acolyte, and even people are not talking about it, but I am excited for the Skeleton Crew. It just looks different. It looks very Goonies.
Yeah.
It looks
we
very
haven't
like
heard anything about
something
it for so
outside
long.
of known stuff. Ahsoka concerns me because the marketing sucks on it. So we're gonna have to step up our game on TikTok about it. But like Ahsoka concerns me personally. A hot take right now, like just call it Rebel Season 5 and be done with it.
Good. I'm kidding.
Don't
fight me.
And I'm a Rebels truth. It's my favorite piece of Star Wars. Number one. Number one, Rebels. Number two, Last Jedi, Fallen Order, and Jedi Survivor, Andor, and Visions. That's like top tier Star Wars.
Rebels is better than Clone Wars.
Like, when I say I love Rebels,
it is. Period.
Oh, 100%. If that's a hot take, I need names and social security numbers. That should be a standard.
Get a Zero the Hutt story.
The people who will disagree with you are the people that say that it's peak Star Wars. Clone Wars is peak. That's always the.
It's good. The Rebels is better.
Okay, hot take on Clone Wars: 70% is unwatchable and filler.
I don't disagree on any of that. A lot of it is unwatchable. It's pretty bad. And I love Clone Wars. But Zero the Hutt, come on.
We
I wanna
just
die from watching
started reviewing season 1 of Clone Wars tonight. Like we just
God.
recorded the first 4 episodes, so now we are
rough.
embarking on, like, I alluded to Lewis and Clark, like trying to traverse and like find a trail across this uncharted land where we're like, this is gonna take so freaking long, and it's gonna we're gonna be hungry and smelly and itchy and probably fighting off diseases and like at what cost? But you know, season 7's gonna be good.
Tell me why though the Sice Noodles and the Zero the Hutt storyline was so fucking long. Why? Holy crap! Why? It was awful.
Yeah.
No, nobody. I don't think anybody likes that. If anybody actually likes that, that would be a hot take.
I mean, both their voices, just in general, are just it just makes you cringe. And then hearing them together, you're like, please stop. Please stop talking.
Yeah. Can't do it.
All right, I have a hot take that's outside of like TV shows. All right, and I wrote it down. Like one of the first hot takes, I said prequels have the strongest. Prequels are the strongest in terms of the story. Decaying Republic, Army of Slaves, essentially slaves, and secret religious conflict. It's just that prequels don't elaborate on them as well as the Rebels and Clone Wars do.
The prequels have this like great like underlying story, and then the actual execution is terrible, like because it focused so much on special effects and not giving the story as much. And like going back, like when I first saw the prequels, like I was college age when they came out, so I was not the right age for like Phantom Menace. That was not a good age to start with Phantom Menace. I will put that out there. I was not happy with it. Yeah. And I go back and enjoy them now. But the one thing, and of course I'm always upset at George for not actually explaining the story well enough for that. But the one thing is that in the prequels, not the Clone Wars, but in the prequels, Anakin sucks. And I know a lot of people are loving Anakin these days, but like going back and watching those movies, he's the worst.
What do you mean? Like, what specifically makes him the worst?
So
I'm just curious.
I'm gonna
because he's a kid, because he's
I'm taking Phantom Menace out of it because like he's just a kid, and just a kid. That's fine. But as far as Attack of the Clones and like you don't really get very many redeemable qualities from Anakin in those movies. Like he starts off just kind of like snapping back, whiny, complainy, possessive. Like you could see like the creeper eyes with Padme like in the first 20 minutes, and it makes me uncomfortable. and so he spent 2 movies just like really go back and watch this like she will be mine. Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
Can I, Nick? Can I say something?
And that's not Hayden's fault. That is George Lucas's fault.
No.
Right.
This is the character. This is not acting. This is. Go ahead, JJ.
But that's direction in the script. And
Yeah.
again, I was 13 when Attack came. Let me tell you, it was sexual awakening. all of those lines would have worked on me. I would have folded like a chair. Like I was figuring out. He was hot, those blue eyes, and like a little.
Oh my gosh! Bring back the Padawan braid. We need
But Obi-Wan was right there.
I was into it.
I mean,
like,
you had Jesus Jedi.
I understood when they're kissing kissing in the tunnel on Geonosis. Like that's gonna be projected on my tombstone. Attack is like my Citizen Kane. Like I ate it up.
And to me, having not grown up with that, like
Revenge of the Sith.
Oh.
I mean, the Padme's delivery of the line, Padme's delivery of the line, "I love you," is like I don't think Natalie wanted to say that. She's like, "I love you." Like there's this like pain in actually trying to say that line because it's like this is like my brother. I don't actually. But yeah, it's just creeper the entire time, and like and the women and children too. And it's like, oh well, we all get upset. It's like, what is going on?
I mean,
Genocide's fine because you're cute, but that's Padme. What the hell?
My take on the prequels, like when I have a friend that's trying to get into Star Wars for the first time and they're about to embark in the prequels, First of all, I tell them, maybe this is a hot take, maybe it's not. Phantom Menace is totally skippable. Like, it's the worst Star Wars movie, in my opinion. But I tell them to think of, especially episode 2 and 3, as like a Shakespeare sonnet. Like, think of it like that kind of drama that, yes, it's of course kind of creepy and it doesn't translate perfectly well, but it makes sense when you think of it as this like high class drama, like storytelling over like aeons ago. Like, I think that makes it a bit more palatable when you're like in those awkward scenes. I could see, like, you know, Shakespeare writing that type of tension, you know what I mean?
I mean, it has strong story points. Like, again, Republic is falling apart. There's like a religious conflict underneath it all, and I call it religious conflict, sort of like Jedi. That's what I mean. There's like a giant army of clones, you know, that are treated as slaves essentially. Like, there's a lot of like strong story points. It's just that, I'm sorry, George Lucas can't write dialogue. He's a vision person. He's a story person. He's not a small details, character development, dialogue kind of person.
Dialogue's dumpster fire.
Correct. Like, you give that job to people that are capable of doing that. You put the story on a table and let the other ones write it. That's sort of like that should be his jam. But that's why the prequels don't work for me. They were freaking like Lord of the Rings trilogy quality at the time. I want to make it clear. Like, I was very young. That was my first intro to Star Wars, and Hayden Christensen was so hot that he physically hurt me. Like, I couldn't stand it. And I love pod racing and Qui-Gon Jinn and Duel of the Fates, and then the Darth Maul intro with the dual-ended saber. I was sold. Like,
pod racing is awesome.
It's awesome. I fucking love it. Whoever says it's too long, it's not long enough. Hot take.
It's my favorite part. If you do Star Tours Disneyland, I get excited. The two best parts are the pod racing, and then when you get the Boba Fett one. I lose my shit when you get Boba Fett, because you get and you get the asteroid field, and you get the charges. Oh my god, it's the best.
Oh yeah,
loved it.
But see, with you, how you were with Hayden, that's how I was with Ewan, because I was in love with Ewan. I saw some random episode of ER of all things. I'm old, by the way.
I'm older.
I saw an episode of like ER. My mom was watching. I was like, "Who is that?" And then I got weirdly obsessed. This is back in the day before the internet was really a thing. So like, I had to like go through the TV guide and like, where is this actor? And then I was like, "Oh, he's on Tales from the Crypt." And then like I found Train Spotting, and then I was like obsessed. And then when he got cast as Obi-Wan, I was like, this dude that I'm obsessed with is gonna be in my favorite thing ever in the whole world. Are you serious?
And playing the best character ever.
Yeah.
What do we think about the mullet, though? That is literally the #1 reason why prequels are superior.
I hate mullets, but he makes it work, and I'm angry at him for that.
The holy mullet. That's my favorite Obi-Wan mullet.
Like Ewan, how do you make that work? It's not fair.
Yeah.
Right?
If we're talking about characters that we had some sort of crush with or in love with, whatever. Now, this character have never had a crush on. I am a heterosexual male, but damn it, if Cobb Vanth isn't the most attractive Star Wars character to have ever walked the face of the earth, I don't know who is. I'm as heterosexual as it gets, and I'm like, he's the best looking person in this whole thing.
Timothy Olyphant came into where I used to work in LA. And
excuse me?
Yeah. Okay. So he sat in my section, and I was like, no, I can't. I literally cannot, because I will die. I don't remember where. Oh, I saw him in Go originally. Like, this is, again, I'm old. So Go is one of my favorite movies, and he was the main character in it, or one of the main characters. And I like fell in love with him, and then I became obsessed, just like with Ewan McGregor. Again, autistic. I hyper focus on people. And he walks in. This is before Star Wars. Like, he walks in, and I'm like, oh no. Like, no, I can't serve his table. And my friend's like, why? I'm like, if I explain to you why right now, I will embarrass myself and I'll have to leave. I was like, you have to take my table for me. I can't do this because I will probably faint. He was the nicest dude ever. I didn't serve his table, and I wish I would have. I regret it now because he was so nice. But you're always nervous when you see celebrities. Like, are they going to be cool or they're not going to be cool? But I stared at him like a creep in the corner of the restaurant the whole time. And he's so beautiful in person. Anyway, yes.
Yeah, he is. I saw him. He came to a dance of a workshop weekend I was teaching at in Canada, and like shows up, and I was like, oh my god, because he was after Justified, After I just finished watching Justified.
Such a good show.
Yeah, such a good show. And so seeing him, I'm like,
so good.
oh, he's
so
also
good.
tall. Wow.
He's so
All right.
handsome.
He's
so
got so much
handsome, and he's
hair.
so nice.
I know.
Run my fingers through it. Okay. My husband doesn't need to see this.
Anyone that dons the Boba armor, I'm a huge fan of now. Him,
His swagger.
Tamara Morrison. Yeah. I just want a show with those guys. That's all I want.
Superior armor.
Just called
Superior
swagger.
armor.
He was literally Raylan Givens in Star Wars. That's exactly it. Just
Yes, he was.
it was beautiful.
This turned into hot takes into simping now. It's like, all right, Hayden.
It's simping.
You win.
You.
All right. Well, let's turn to the females then here for a second. So, we talked about Han Solo being an overrated character.
Mhm.
I also think Princess Leia is a greatly overrated character. In fact, I think Mon Mothma is a far superior character to Princess Leia. Princess Leia was born and raised by someone who was like, hey, we need to form this rebellion. She just this is her lifestyle. She was born into it. That's what she knows. Mon Mothma saw liberty die and never knew how to get her hands dirty, but figures out one day after the next how to financially support and within the Senate support something that no longer exists and is willing to risk it all. Leia is not risking anything. She didn't even know they could blow up a planet at the time. So that is why Mon Mothma for me, she's just a better character than Leia.
I don't disagree that Mama Mothma's awesome, but
Listen. I only brought one
Get
drink,
ready.
but I brought a shot of tequila in case
oh,
a hot take so hot that I need to numb the pain.
All right.
I had
All right,
never
here-
heard shots. Damn
Here's
it.
your JJ. Here's your take a shot. Hot take. Take a shot. I want to see it.
You
All right.
going after Leia. I can't take it. I was gonna save it for a hot take, but that's a hot
One of my biggest gripes in Star Wars these days, I don't know if I should be the one to talk about this, but is the fact that every single female character that we have, for the most part, ends up becoming a part of a male character story.
Yes.
So you get an awesome setup. You got Princess Leia, and it's like, okay, like one of the coolest, like, badass princesses we see, and then like just becomes a part of Han's story, and they ditch any sort of Princess Leia storyline. All they did was like, you're a sister now to to all of this. Okay, great.
Yeah.
And then Padme, we had another great setup, and then like just completely ditch her storyline, and it's like in Revenge of the Sith, you're just going to be there for Anakin, and any good scenes that you have, we're going to cut out of the final movie. And then of course, like,
you know who
Rey,
outshines their spouse?
yeah.
The fact that I know this now, by the way, that's actually newer news to me that they cut those scenes out with Padme makes me
too.
infuriated. Like I am
set up so much.
big mad about
Yep.
that.
But you know who outshines their spouse? Mon Mothma.
He's a dirtbag. He's
He's such a dirtbag.
plug. He's so gross.
I
smells
hope
like
he-
balls. Like he's gross. I don't like him.
I want to see a
Andor
glorious end to
has
him in
done
that
a
season
lot
2.
for Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yes.
Andor was really
A
good.
breath of
It
fresh
stands
air.
alone. Like you could watch that outside of Star Wars and still enjoy it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
am
Same with
I'm
season
a-
1 of Mando, but this is different. This is like different. This is like what non-nerds could watch and still enjoy.
Correct.
Yeah.
But you're right. If you look at the movies in general, and like even like I'll take Ahsoka, even though she's not in a movie technically, every major female character has existed as a side character to a male
Yes.
storyline.
It's really annoying.
It's super annoying. Number one. Number two, you have Rey for the first time, and there's a potential there, and then again sideline in the third movie, made part of a male storyline. Palpatine
Although
and Luke.
Rebels
So-
changed that for Ahsoka though, and I do appreciate that about Rebels. It's one of the reasons why I like Rebels so much.
That is true. You're right. 100%. You are
And
absolutely
even Hera,
right.
even Hera is not. She is not. She's attached to Kanan because they're a couple, but like that
Yeah.
is not the driving
Yeah.
force of her
Yeah.
story.
They both stand on their
Works for me.
own, and I think
Right.
that's why that relationship works so well, that they're capable of like exploring like romance, if there is or there isn't some. We later learn there is some, but like they totally stand. That's why Rebels is just superior in every way. My God, best Star Wars that's ever been created.
Yep.
Hera being literally one of the greatest female characters in Star
Yep.
Wars. Asajj
Yep.
Ventress, Mon Mothma, like
Yep.
and they stand on their own. I just want to push them into mainstream film and really get the fans to know these characters a lot more than just like your hardcore nerds.
I'm excited to see this new female lead in the Outlaws game that we're gonna get, especially since it is sort of like an outlaw Game of Thrones, or not Game of Thrones, the GTA style like game. That's really cool that we get to play as like a scoundrel.
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Yes. That's what I usually pick when I play.
Cute character to spend money on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I like the fact that we're finally getting female characters that aren't for a male character. That's one of the things that drives me nuts about Fennec Shand, about writing for Fennec Shand, is that it went back to that same trope. But then hopefully with Ahsoka, hopefully with Acolyte
character,
and that's the whole thing that drives me nuts about fans getting on the case of Rey and Rey's character. Because like Rey spends like 3 movies of like men trying to tell her who she's supposed to be, and that that's her whole thing. Like, oh, you're nothing, you're this, you're that, you should be this, and then like her choosing her own destiny, and that I appreciate that in the movie, even though it was not well written, in my opinion. It's cohesive in that, but I hope with the new Rey movie coming up that we get further into it.
Yeah, 2 things about that. One,
I'm going to push back too. Yeah.
As an abuse survivor, this is why I had an issue with the whole Reylo thing, which still could have ended up being Reylo and still being good, but it didn't happen. Is because as an abuse survivor, the things that he said to her and did to her were not cool, and like it icks me. It icks me a lot. I forgot my other point. Shit. I had another point about the whole Rey thing. Oh no, I forgot. We'll have to circle back to that later. But that's one of the things about the whole Reylo thing that grosses me out, is the way that he treats her. And I get that he's the bad guy that's redeeming himself, but it was just like, she deserved better than that.
She's like, I could change him.
Yeah, and I don't like that trope. It's like the same reason why I don't like the Twilight series. Like, I don't like that as an abuse survivor. It's a really bad mindset. Why is my child screaming, by the way, in the background? Sorry. I'm gonna mute.
JJ, you got
the only thing I'm gonna push. The only thing I'm gonna push back of like men telling Rey who she is. Like, there's an entire cave scene on Octo that explores Rey figuring out, dwelling into her own inner conscious to awaken the goddess. It's part of the whole heroine's journey, which Ryan Johnson, I think, does really well in this film. So that entire thing is really well like portrayed on screen. All that she does in the throne room is confirm what she knew. It's just Kylo Ren might be gouging her a little bit because he wants her on his side, wants her on the dark side, and the film subverts the trope of good girl changing the bad guy, because she didn't. She failed. That's the whole point of the movie. All of our heroes fail on literally every aspect. Poe fails, Finn fails, Rey failed, and I think those themes are explored really, really well in The Last Jedi. And at the end of it, she is one with the feminine. Her hair is down. She knows what she needs to do. She's holding Leia's hand. We have everything that we need, and she closes the door on Kylo Ren, finishing that arc of hers. To me, that movie ended fucking perfectly. So for The Rise of Skywalker to step in and undo all of that and throw her back into those throngs that she's already resolved is such a backtrack on the character.
I also don't want to talk about the people that want her to be pregnant, by the way.
Excuse the fuck out of me?
Have you not seen this? Is why Reylos scare me. I'm not saying all of them are bad, by the way. I'm not.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to react that way. What the actual?
Oh yeah, they're like, maybe he was holding her stomach with the Force. Maybe she's pregnant. I'm like, I want you to die. I'm just kidding. I don't actually want you to die. Like, that's just you. Like, stop it. That is, do you not realize? Like,
I mean, I love enemies to lovers trope so much. It's juicy and it's spicy and it's like kind of romance that I prefer to read because it's just fun.
Unconsensual pregnancy, not so steamy.
I hate that.
I kids, no thanks.
Hate that. That is the worst. That is the worst I've ever heard in my life.
As far as Reylos go, I'm in the camp, and some people might disagree with this hot take and say that it's Empire Strikes Back, but I think that The Last Jedi is the horniest Star Wars film.
Oh, it's the sexiest for sure.
It is for sure, and it's not even just for Reylo in that case. Like the tension there, like I ship Holdo and Poe, like that. That tension was powerful.
I thought they had tension too.
Yes, and also Holdo and Leia, they're like,
oh yeah,
and I was like, oh, you know, they've had
There's
a long
some there.
history. Yeah.
I missed it all.
But I think that The Last Jedi is like the horniest Star Wars film, and one of my favorite scenes is when they like touch hands in that like it's like the most subtly like sexual tension that you can get. And then when they're in like the elevator together and they're just like looking at each other and they're like, I saw your future. I saw your future too.
But you know,
so I'm not anti-Reylo. I didn't mind them kissing at the end. Of course, it wasn't like earned. It didn't like build up the right way. But I've always felt, even from The Force Awakens, that there was a potential like romance tension between the two of them, which is part of that dyad that we're seeing. But in my opinion, romance has always been a part of Star Wars, and it's one of my favorite themes in Star Wars. So it belongs in Star Wars, but it just didn't get earned all the way through in Rise of Skywalker.
And the way Star Wars also tends to reject romance really annoys the shit out of me. Like, besides Kanan and Hera being a standout, like you have these
the only
couples,
healthy relationship,
pretty much
the only one.
But he dies. Like, is there one where no one? Okay, have you guys played Jedi Survivor? Do you know this story?
No, I have not finished it. Don't spoil it.
Okay. Quiet.
Everyone dies.
Like,
it's a whole thing.
Yes, it's everybody. The planet explodes. They're all dead.
Cool.
All of them. But like it never goes like, you never portrays to me relationships that are like somebody lives.
Yeah.
One person. Like,
well, and then like the Han and Leia thing like was earned in the original trilogy, and then they just crapped on it in the sequel.
In The Force Awakens, what the hell was the purpose of actually separate? Because they reverted Han back to his old scoundrel self. Why? Because again, they wanted to copy A New Hope. Because fucking J.J. Abrams has no original ideas in his life. He had to separate a married couple so that Han Solo can be his old self, essentially.
How is the Princess Scoundrel? I haven't read that yet. I have it in my. I'm scared to read it.
I mean, it's pretty good, but you know, hindsight is 2020. When you know the outcomes, it makes the reading a bit. Man, it kind of informs your reading a little bit more. So that going in that, knowing that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like getting.
I don't like with Reylo.
I was gonna say just getting some Han and Leia interaction, marriage, all that stuff is nice. Like the stuff with the Star Cruiser and basically trying to promote the Star Cruiser a bit in the book. That part can get a little frustrating at times, but the book's enjoyable.
That aged well.
Sluggish.
I know.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying, JJ?
No, like we keep talking about The Last Jedi again. It's a contentious film. It's got a lot of conversation about it, so I totally get it. But like with Rey and Kylo, like, and you're saying that it's like the horniest, sexiest film. It is, because Throne Room scene is literally just two people having sex.
Yeah, literally. It's
literally. It's
I remember watching that in IMAX on the big screen and being like, "Is this legal?"
They're both pulling on the same lightsaber. I don't know.
And the flicking
and the explosion. I mean,
there's a climax and sparks fly.
Yeah, literally.
I mean,
you can't get a bigger euphemism than that.
And again, with the movie, it doesn't have to do anything with like Rey and Kylo, but when there's an image of Rey standing in a tree that looks like a vagina.
Yeah.
Rey left before Kylo woke up.
I don't know.
Yo. Okay. All right. Something else I want to know.
The lightning hit that tree, by the way.
Now, I want to know why you think Obi-Wan Kenobi is an amazing show. Because I found it so surface level and silly that I need to know where this is coming from. Help me. I'm open-minded. I will listen to you.
So I grew up with prequels, right? And I love them like unapologetically. Like I can't find flaws in them because I am so blinded by rose-colored glasses and nostalgia and me being a teenager when I watched it. So there's a lot of that. Watching young Anakin come back, Vader again with New Hope being one of my favorite movies. Like it hit all of my nostalgia notes. But then like it introduced Inquisitors, more about that, the Inquisitorius. Reva is by far one of my favorite new additions into the Star Wars universe. I think she's incredibly interesting. The fact that this child was taken early on, brainwashed, and turned into a killer soldier that goes through this transformation towards the end where she has a choice to murder a child and not do it, something that Anakin would have done. To me, I find that journey so interesting. And Star Wars to me has been so, I don't want to say boring because that's not the case, but repetitive. It just keeps doing the same shit over and over fucking again, like trying to pick up all of these things that we know and point at the screen like, you remember this? Do you remember how you felt when you saw that? Do you know this? And then Reva steps in as a brand new character in this brand new concept of Inquisitors, and just sort of, there's an entire arc there. And I appreciate that. And the talk of the path and Tala and mention of Quinlan Voss and all the yes, exactly. Like I know it's a nostalgia bait right there for like mega nerds, but like there's a bigger story behind it. He's smuggling these young kids that are trying to escape, all these force sensitives. But then you have a force sensitive woman, Reva, like who didn't have that chance to escape and be saved. And that like really breaks my heart. So
and from the lens of a child,
correct.
It makes sense that she would also be like, why didn't you help me? So like, why would she like blame Obi-Wan? Because she probably knew who General Kenobi was.
And
Correct.
knew who Anakin was. Like,
yes.
he was responsible for the person that killed everybody around her.
And she was a child. And when you have trauma as somebody who has been traumatized, you will hold on to things from a child's perspective, even into adulthood sometimes. It's what therapy is for. And so that makes sense to me. And it bothers me that people don't quite get that, because I feel like they portrayed that actually very well in the show, in my personal opinion. It was also really good to see Obi-Wan try to find his way back into his faith, similar to what we're going to see with Ahsoka, right? So he's completely destroyed that this happened to all of the Jedi Order, that his best friend, his brother, has completely turned to the dark side, and he's trying to find his way out, and his best friend / brother's own child is the reason he's going to be able to find those strings and climb back up into the light. It's just
quite
like,
literally was buried, and he thought of Leia at the time when he was buried.
I can't even think about him talking to her at the end, and the way he laughs and stuff, and he's so happy. You watch him be. This is going to be a weird thread, but if anyone's played The Last of Us, watch the show, when you watch, it's my favorite game of all time. When you watch Joel be so cold and stiff with Ellie, and slowly over time, it's more beautiful in the game because like you have to play the game and it's longer than the show. The show did a great job though. Him warming up to her as time goes on, and then he's like so fiercely protective, and like that's his family. That's what happened in the Kenobi show. And the way he's so happy and joyful at the end of it is actually heartbreaking to me.
I agree.
Because of all that he's been through. And again, Clone Wars and Rebels has made me appreciate that journey for all of these characters more. But that's why I like this show. And Ewan McGregor is just...
He's so good in that.
Such a phenomenal actor.
So good.
There is nobody else that could be that character. God, he's so good. Yeah. And the way he genuinely loves, and that little girl that played Leia, who was just perfect, and their chemistry. But yes, that whole thing of watching somebody's be completely dead to their faith. He couldn't even use the Force correctly. We saw that when he tried to save Leia, right?
Yeah,
he struggled to help her, which would have been easy for old Obi-Wan. And then coming back to it because he had to protect her was so beautiful. I'm also a sucker for that kind of arc, though, like the guy that has to protect the kid arc. I'm a sucker for it. Why Last of Us is my favorite game. But yeah, it's a really good show, damn it.
And it ties really well into New Hope, I think. Yeah, I thought it would undermine New Hope, but it doesn't. Because Alec Guinness's Obi-Wan, he seems a lot more self-assured.
Yeah.
Like a lot more confident, which again, if you look at the Clone Wars and the Jedi Purge, there should be some after effect even on somebody as strong and as capable as Obi-Wan. And I wanted to see that struggle. You know what I mean? Like what effect did Order 66 have on you? You left Anakin on Mustafar. That is your brother. You watched him grow up. So I think you feel that pain. He seems completely defeated. And again, it ties back again into The Last Jedi a little bit with Hermit Luke sort of being faithless and giving up. And that's why I love it. And introduction to Reva and to Inquisitorius and those concepts. Like there's a lot of like goofy moments. I don't think it was, some of them were silly and campy. Don't get me wrong. Like when they're trying to escape and they're in the giant trench coat, like that stuff is ridiculous. But like none of that would overshadow like when we know Qui-Gon is I'm sorry, we know the Obi-Wan is a Force ghost, but now we know how. You know what I mean? Like seeing Qui-Gon, it felt like a huge payoff because he watched his master die. Like I felt so happy and satisfied. There was a good payoff for me for that. Like Kenobi hit every note to me. Like I can't even watch it because it's gonna make me cry viscerally.
Yes, I watched it
that
with
good.
And that's it. I'm good. But yeah, I can't do
I think Cody and I, if she's around, I love you, Cody. We watched it together on live, and we were viscerally crying the whole time. Like I cannot rewatch it without tears. So,
I don't think it's a bad show.
but why do you hate it?
I don't hate it. It's just
Why don't you like it?
Because it does everything it's supposed to do. It's so paint by numbers. It doesn't take any risks, and it's just like if someone had told me like this is going to be the storyline for Kenobi, I'm like, that's fine. And then I see it executed the way it was, and I'm like, that's good. There are things I hate in that show, and usually it's the camera shakiness and low light. Like as a videographer, I'm just like, why was that decision made? And like the light, you have Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen, who are very skilled lightsaber duelists. I don't think we need to shake the camera so much here. And also, let's boost up. There's a lot of little lighting things in that whole series where I was like, I don't think that was a good decision. That those technical
take
things.
the film nerd out of it though. Like if you didn't know all of those technical things.
Yeah, no, those are the only things I hate.
I respect that.
Those are the only things I hate in that show. Everything else is absolutely fine. It's just fine. Like I don't hate it. I like it. Like I would rewatch it. I do rewatch clips because I like it. I just don't think it's great. Yeah.
Can I ask an honest question?
Yes.
Okay, so what did you want out of a Kenobi prequel, like the Tatooine era? Like I'm just curious because I had some needs too, if you want to call it that. I'm just curious.
Well, the child in me, Boba Fett never hurts. But anyway, besides that thing,
I get it, Boba Truther, I get it.
Besides the thing we're never gonna get, I don't know. I would have loved to see something you weren't expecting, and that could mean. I don't know if that necessarily means like Obi-Wan dealing with anger all of a sudden, and he doesn't really know what to do with this, and you see him lashing out, and he's got to figure that out. I'm not personally a huge fan of, we got to, like, the child is what's going to save me. But look, there's nothing wrong with that. It happens to people in real life, so that's totally a thing. It's the same layup I think the Star Wars sequels missed with Rey. You have this character with these inner demons. You just got to figure out, who am I, and this and that. And they totally blew who I think could have been the most interesting character in Star Wars history and just blew it up. And with Obi-Wan Kenobi, I don't think they failed on anything there. But I think it could have been more interesting where he's dealing with sadness and this and that. Well, what if the monster in the series is himself? Yeah. And he's got to come to grips with that. Like, kind of like we saw with Luke down the road. Now he's this so-called monster. And he's like, fuck it, there's no Jedi. What are you going to do? Like, kind of thing. Like, it's all pointless and so I'm not saying that's exactly what saved it for me, but that was something that I think we can all agree with Andor. You're like, I really don't know what's going to happen next. And if you have that in a show like Obi-Wan, I think that's how you take it from me, like a C+ level show to, you're getting into that B+ to A range by leaving the viewers on the edge of their seat, especially non-Star Wars fans who are like coming in and saying, like, none of this stuff has any nostalgia to me, so why am I still going to keep watching it? Because you're intrigued.
Let me ask you, how many times have you watched through the show?
Sorry.
Oh, I was
one time.
Well, okay. It's better on rewatch.
Okay.
Is it?
Yeah. I mean, like, knowing where everything.
All the way through.
I cry too much. That's why I can't rewatch it.
Watching it episode by episode.
I remember it
hitting.
Through
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember it hitting really well and giving everything that because I was just so grateful that we were going to have Ewan and Hayden back on screen together that I was like, I'll take whatever you give me. Like,
and those scenes were great.
Yes.
And let's also praise something else too. Every freaking moment Darth Vader was on screen, it was the most menacing he's ever been.
Yeah.
That little kid who's just like all of a sudden his neck broken, pulling people out of their homes. I'm just like, this is the
That was
most
terrifying.
terrifying figure.
Yeah. He like finally lived up. I mean, a lot of people will point to that Rogue One
It
hallway
was
scene
more
as
horrifying
being
the
like
hallway.
so much more.
definitely
He was scary
like
in this, yeah.
he really
Jinx.
is like his most powerful in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, and that really you actually do get to fear him in a new
Yeah.
way.
Oh, and that last, I still get goosebumps when I see that last bit of dialogue when you just see Obi-Wan look at him and his helmet's all like broken up, and
Oh
you
God, we're gonna
just like,
cry again.
you didn't kill Anakin, and this smile, I did.
Yeah.
It's like in the Scream, Obi-Wan in the desert. It's just like it was so freaking amazing. So I'm not trying to shit on the show. I think where it succeeded, it's like
No,
one of their
I
top
didn't
Star
get
Wars
that from
moments.
you.
But there's a lot that's mid. But what's good is really good. But it does leave me one more hot take. I'm only going to
Okay.
ask one more. I think Obi-Wan is a selfish, prideful character that, you know what? If you should have put the galaxy first before your own feelings, Anakin should have died twice now. Twice. Put your feelings aside. Get the job done.
Oh damn! I don't have enough.
You're gonna
I don't
pour
have
another
enough tequila.
shot.
You're right.
Hey,
Obi-Wan is my baby,
Hot
so I
take.
get a little, and Leia too. So I get a little queasy.
Just kill him. He keeps killing kids and other people. And you know it. You
Yeah.
know
No,
it.
you're right. You're
You've
right.
visibly
You're right.
seen it. Put your feelings aside.
But you
You
know
know
what's
it to be true.
funny? You said that you wanted to explore like the little negative sides of Obi-Wan post Order 66. Like the Last Jedi did that with Luke, and fans
Yeah.
were like, "Nah, fuck you. I don't want
Yeah.
anything interesting." So
Yeah, I
now
know.
they're keeping it safe. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's
I get that.
we are done with risky, bold choices when it comes
Yeah.
to our characters. Forget it. Like they tried and people rejected it. Well, loud minority, whatever. But
Yeah.
no, I get you. I talked about this. I'm like, just watch when they explore like negative sides of even Boba Fett. You know what I mean? He was literally in a fucking stomach of a Sarlacc pit, like being digested. No one comes out of normal from that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that should have been a thing. Same with Kenobi. I get you.
And they could have. And that second, was it Tribes of Tatooine? That episode of Boba Fett was so interesting. It was dealing with the
Dude.
psychological effects
Yeah.
of the trauma
Loved
he
it.
experienced. I
Loved
was like, this show's about to be amazing. Like, as one who wanted to see him like go fighting people, this and that, I'm like, oh, I can push that aside. What you're about to embark on is going to be really good. Never touched on it after that.
I know.
Yeah,
man.
you're right.
Yeah.
No, that makes me still angry. That still makes me angry. I swear to God.
Wild.
Yeah. Listen,
Okay,
as
I have
somebody
one.
who has a Boba Fett pimp goblet that I made
Oh,
Oh, you made that.
favorite thing in the whole world right
in
now.
2012 for my birthday. Yeah, it's mine. It's from, remember like Color Me Mine? I don't know if that exists anymore. It's like a little pottery shop. You go in and you can. Somebody distracted me
that.
for my birthday because they were setting up a surprise party for me, and they're like, "Let's make stuff." And I'm like, "Okay, I don't know how to do this." And I was like, "Boba Fett," and they're like, "What is wrong with you?" So that is what I made. Is I made a Boba Fett pimp goblet. The inside has
love it.
the mythosaur. You can't really because there's stuff in here. And
I can see
Oh,
that. I can see that.
cool.
That's
And
awesome.
then like his family crest is on there.
That's so
That's
cool.
Which
I
don't
love
know,
that the
actually, this
mythosaur
makes
is
me a terrible
underwater.
lore nerd.
That's all I have.
So I have one more hot take
All right.
to contribute to the group, and that is that the best Jedi is Kanan Jarrus.
Yes. Oh,
I don't think you're gonna find
Yes!
a lot of arguments.
Okay, it sounds like it's not a hot take then.
Well,
hold on.
if
It's a hot
you
take
post
for
that
me.
on
I've
the
had
internet, it
people fight
will
me
be
over
a
it.
hot take on the internet.
Wait, why though? I want to know why. Because
He
Hold
is
on,
truly the definition of like what the Jedi all aspire to be. Like he has
Okay.
modeled it in his selflessness and his humbleness, in his sacrifice, and he's even found the way to balance his attachments and his love with Hera in a way that doesn't interfere with his connection to the Force.
I see.
I think the only person that I can allow people to say that is better than Kanan is Qui-Gon. Like I'll
Okay.
I'll understand that and allow that fair play, followed tertiary by Obi-Wan probably. But Kanan just, and I think it's probably because he is the lore of Rebels, that like if you know then you know, like, and if you haven't been exposed to Rebels then you miss out on why this character is truly one of the best Jedi to ever exist.
But you said the best. Now,
He is the best.
There's
The best.
one more, and I'm not.
Go ahead.
There's one more that might top him.
Okay, who?
I can't say it because it's a spoiler.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
Wait, what? Oh, from
The video game? Survivor?
Okay. I've avoided literally everything
do it.
about it, so
Oh,
no,
shit,
don't do
never
it.
mind. Never mind, sorry, just kidding.
Cal Kestis.
Is he a Jedi? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, he's the same as what your the other guy, because he Padawan, kind of a Jedi.
True.
Never knighted.
Yeah.
So I totally agree about Kanan. By the way, he is my personal favorite,
Mhm.
with Ahsoka coming just under.
Mhm.
And we're not going to do the whole I am no Jedi because that was taken out of context.
Yeah, no.
And Dave Filoni said that. It was taken, like, fans latched onto that and was like, oh, no
Yeah.
Jedi. We see in the trailer, they literally put Jedi in there.
Yeah.
I think this is her journey.
Yeah.
This is her journey coming back to her her belief system and being like, and finding her way back to being a Jedi. The Kanan and Ahsoka are the two people, and Qui-Gon, that epitomize what the Jedi should be.
Mhm.
Also Quinlan Vos to a degree, but there's some gray area there. But like they're the Jedi that, like, they get it. They get
Yeah.
what the Force is about. They get what it means. There's no weird dogma attached to it that corrupts it. Like organized, okay, this is going to be real world-ish, but like organized religion can corrupt the actual beauty of like what the meaning of spirituality is.
Mhm.
And they get it.
No, you're right.
And that's why I love them. And Kanan, what I love about him is, yes, his attachment to Hera isn't toxic, and he's able to have a kid with her and like love her and treat Ezra as a son. And like none of it is corrupting. And meeting the Bindu, which people want to get into Grey Jedi, which is not a thing. Okay?
Not a thing.
It's not a thing.
And the Bindu even explains
Breaks
that.
the
Like,
lore,
that's not how the
breaks the
Force
lore.
works. But there is balance. Okay? That is why he's amazing. And Kanan is...
Can I add Luke Skywalker to this? I'm sorry.
I do love Luke.
Because
no.
Oh no!
I hate
This is
Luke
when best
only
friends
so-
separate. Yeah.
Only
No.
one season, The Last
No.
Jedi, do I find him okay.
He's my
The
favorite
only thing
character
I'm
ever.
gonna add is just his last act is literally what Jedi should be, like
Yeah.
signaling the hope without shedding blood, and he does that. To me, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to bring it around.
So, all right, hold on. Is the outcome the same, better, or worse if Anakin is trained by Qui-Gon Jinn instead of Obi-Wan?
Oh,
Ooh. Better.
You think so?
better.
Better.
Can you repeat the question? Because I was hugging my child goodnight. I'm so sorry.
No, is the outcome the same, better, or worse if Anakin has Qui-Gon Jinn as his Jedi Master?
That's hard because I love
Luke.
Obi-Wan.
Sorry.
But Obi-Wan wasn't there for him emotionally at all. He's just like
Obi-Wan
saw
didn't
things
want
and he turned a blind
anything
eye.
to do with him. He was like,
Not
Master,
really.
why are we picking up this slave child? Like, don't we have other things to do? And at least Qui-Gon
You're
was
not
like, no,
wrong.
he has like potential.
And that's why Obi-Wan was canceled in 2023 from that tweet.
Yeah.
I do believe I wrote a whole thing. I actually wrote a whole thing about this in high school because I was like, was I 16 when I think TPM came out? Like that if Qui-Gon hadn't died because of his emotional intelligence, that Anakin may have turned out completely different. Because I don't think that Qui-Gon would have denied access to his mother.
No, I 100% agree. 100%
It's so
agree.
like you and I have the same opinion about Yoda. I love Yoda, by the way. I love him. He's still a dickhead for what he did.
Yeah.
In my opinion, and it's his hubris because anyway, circling back to Qui-Gon, we're talking about subject. If he would have trained Anakin, I think it would have turned out to be different. Which of course then we wouldn't have a story. But that is Qui-Gon was so different.
Yeah.
The way seeker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is why
And I
love
mean,
Kanan.
Duel of the Fates. It's duel for the faith of a soul. I mean, it's spelled out in the theme and in the general concept. I think Qui-Gon would have been a father figure, maybe even to Anakin, that he desperately needed. That child needed a parental guidance and love and care.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I may be a terrible person, but I still ship him and Shmi also.
Qui-Gon and Shmi.
Me too.
I do.
Oh my god.
I do.
I am so validated. Holy shit.
Bad.
Oh man, Daddy
So
Qui-Gon.
bad do I ship them.
Whoa, that's the first time I've heard of that ship. I need to.
Are you serious?
Not the first time. It's not the first time.
Yeah,
That's the
I'm
first
so
time I've heard of it
happy.
too. Yeah.
I have live journals about that.
I think possibly that the Qui-Gon
I love you,
training
Christina.
Anakin, that the the Anakin Padme relationship might not have been secret. Now,
Yeah.
might not have
Yeah, that's
stayed
true.
secret and grown that way, and then Palpatine
Oh, yeah.
wouldn't have had the same influence.
Qui-Gon would have squashed that for sure.
Yeah.
You think so?
Either squash
You
that
think
or
so?
say like,
Hold on,
"Hey,
hold
leave
on,
the
let me explain
Jedi."
this.
Yeah, you got to get out of here then.
Yeah, you
Like,
got to
this
get out of
isn't
here.
for you.
That's you got a
Yeah.
different.
Or he would have figured
destiny.
out some way to like tell the council to be like, "Yo, you let Ki-Adi-Mundi just bang a bunch of people to save his planet. So
Thank
why
you.
can't
Okay.
Anakin? I don't know. You know, like
And
I don't
he's
know.
the
Qui-Gon's
chosen
good.
one.
That
Well,
is
didn't Kit Fisto and Ayla Sakura, like, didn't they have a thing for a bit?
Yes,
Yeah, so like, Jedi can
which
point.
awakened something in me, which is weird and made me kind of a furry. I guess I don't know what's happening.
No.
Oh
Cursed.
no, not kind of.
Dude, Kit is just kind of hot, and it grosses me out, but it's true. Okay, he's got Riz. I don't know. What do you want me to say?
I had people simping for the Gamorreans in my Boba
No,
Fett
that's
video.
weird.
There's a playlist.
No.
I swear to God. No.
Those
And
glistening
there's somebody-
muscles.
God, no.
Sarlacc pit. They're like, oh, Sarlacc pit. Wink, wink. I'm like, what the fuck are you
Too
talking
much
about?
hentai. Too much.
Oh,
It got ridiculous. Let me tell
Not all
you.
tentacles are created equal, okay?
People will simp for literally anything.
They
Anything.
will.
It's
Black
true.
chrysanthemum is very sexy. That's all I'll say.
So,
hold on.
Cheers.
How did we get here?
Anyway, go back and.
I don't even.
I don't know.
I-
How did we get here?
I blame LiveJournal.
Cheers.
Oh,
I'm going to my notes. Let's see what other hot take I have that's not simping or weird. um, oh, Captain Phasma is this generation's Boba Fett.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Hot
Yep.
take or not? Okay, truth.
I agree.
I think the main thing with
I took
Phasma is
picture
that
with-
if
yeah,
they
go ahead,
if they
go
hadn't
Gwendolyn.
publicized publicized the character so much as like you're gonna have this like great new character in Phasma, I don't think people would have cared. I think they would have accepted it like Boba Fett in the original trilogy. But like it was kind of like, oh, we're getting the actress from Game of Thrones and gonna play this amazing character with this, and then you don't get that much. And I think that's where people were disappointed. It's like, oh, I need a backstory on this character. Like everybody needs a backstory now.
I'm disappointed because I can't cosplay her. I mean, I could, but I'm also short, so I
Do
can't
it.
Phasma.
Do it.
But my face, like
Do
she
it.
is, like we could totally do
Oh.
it.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, there's
Which
like
I'm
the
so
end
mad
of
about
end of
Game
the
of
Last Jedi with just the one
You
little
look just like
son.
Gwendolyn. Like it's
Yeah.
great.
We're separated at birth. I swear.
Every
I'm
time I
short
see
in
your
Spencer.
face, I'm watching Brienne. It's wonderful.
I love her. So I love that. I love that she's my doppelganger. But like, I'm mad they didn't like ever take her helmet off because I'm like, man, because I do like that her costume is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a bunch
Do-
of action figures. She was the first sideshow collectible that I ever got.
Hmm.
Was my
That's
you can
awesome.
kind of see her in the background. She's right
Yeah,
there.
that's cool.
That you know what she said on a panel for the villains at the celebration,
Oh, I saw
which
that too,
shook me
yeah.
to the core.
Yeah, we were there.
That Phasma might have had feelings for Finn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
Oh, yeah.
weird.
Oh.
I
Yeah.
did not.
That's how
I
she
did
played
not
it.
get that at all.
Oh, that so
That's
much
how
more.
she-
That
Yeah.
broke me when she said that. I was like,
I
oh my
was
God, the
shook
internet is
on
gonna
that
break in
shit.
half.
I think
That,
she
they
would've
could have dove
had-
into that. That would have been so interesting. Oh man. Speaking of that panel and villains, I gotta say, I think Andy Serkis
Thank
is
you.
the most talented and just the
Yes.
best overall actor in all of Star Wars to have
Oh
ever
my
portrayed
God,
anything.
His
Yeah.
episode.
He
his
is the
last
precious.
episode
Can't
of
disagree.
Andor
Yeah.
was like had me literally. I
Perfect.
couldn't sleep that night after I watched it. I was like, holy shit! Like my brain
Yeah.
wouldn't turn off because that episode was
One
so
way
good.
Mm-hmm.
Simply
That's
on
been-
his performance, I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Mhm.
He's so good.
He's amazing. Oh, and so got to actually meet him at Celebration, and let me tell you, that man is the
I'm so
most.
jealous.
He is the kindest soul, and I like for a second was just like, you filled my childhood with like nightmares as Gollum, and he's like, oh yeah, and then we had like a quick conversation. He's like broke into Gollum, and I went with
I
him,
love it.
and we had like a minute-long conversation as Gollum, and it was
Are you
so.
serious?
It was just like my friends at home were just like, nerd. I'm like, you understand how much I love Lord of the Rings, like even more than Star Wars.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was just like, I can die. And then I turned around and there was Carl Weathers, and I unintentionally told him my dad was dead.
Yeah.
And so it was a weird day for me. And yeah, I called my dad, and he's like, what? And I'm like, I'm just making sure I speak something into existence. You good? He's like, yeah, I'm good. Why? I'm like, I told Carl Weathers you were dead, but all right. That's its own story. Celebration was a trip.
Do you guys follow Beth on TikTok?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So she cosplays Dedra.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You guys saw that story when
Yes.
Andy's agent approached her. I was freaking out. I'm like, can you imagine? Like somebody else's agent approach. That was amazing. That was probably my favorite part of Celebration, hearing that story.
Yes.
The craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. I'm like, his agent approached her.
Yeah.
Because she looks so much like
That's
Dedra.
awesome.
It was amazing.
That's wild. Yeah.
Andy is very smart, and he just sounds really like he's a funny person, like a really good person too.
He was so kind. Yeah, I met you weren't supposed to, at the autograph booths, take pictures of people, this or that. And I kind of look at him, and my buddy's kind of filming our interaction, and someone's just like, come on, man, like put that away. And then Andy's like, they're cool, they're fine. Like, come on, just like you play it out. Just super, I don't know, just super chill. And I was like, all right, he's one of the good ones. And then we met Hayden Christensen, and I was not expecting him to be the sweetest soul. I brought my 2-year-old in to meet him as well, and just like such a
big dad
dude.
energy.
Oh,
because he is a dad, but like he has that like really sweet. Yeah, he
like asked me, he's like, basically, can I pick him up? And I'm like, you're gonna kill him?
You want to keep him?
Wait.
Like, where's this going? And he's like, laughs. We're talking. And, yeah, and it was just like, it was the day he like cried, and I was just like, I looked at him and I was like, hey, thank you for what you did for my generation. I know you didn't get a lot of love for it, but what you've done in your work and how much it meant on my life, and now the legacy impact it's going to have on his and how much he loves it, we just want to say thanks. And he had a tear. I'm not even kidding. Maybe he's a great actor, but on the spot had a tear, and he's like, I just need you to know that
he deserves it. And I'm saying that from the bottom of my heart, because he and Jake Lloyd both got so much unjustified hate. Because let's be real, you have Natalie Portman and you have Ewan McGregor, who are like award-winning actors.
Yeah.
Who also were not great in those movies. And that's not their fault. That's the direction they got. Hayden Christensen, if you actually Google his filmography and watch his other movies, he's actually a pretty decent actor.
Yeah.
And so it hurt me.
He's okay. No.
He's not like, and he never got a chance to get better because like he was scared away from like really pursuing it, because he was still so young.
Yeah.
And I got to meet him randomly. He came into the coffee shop that I worked at in LA. And it took me.
That's amazing.
I met a lot of people.
That is LA.
That's amazing.
But he came into the coffee shop. I didn't know it was him, and I happened to have a Star Wars shirt on because it's what I do. I wear Star Wars shirts all the time. And he was so humble and polite, and someone had to tell me who it was because I didn't know it was him.
Oh,
he was so freaking nice, and he has this like, yes, because he is a father. He likes to farm. He's just a normal guy. And at Celebration, when I got to go last year, Nick wasn't there for that, I don't think, but like they happened to be in that middle room, and they like, it was a surprise room. Where like random surprise guests would show up out of nowhere, and I happened to be nearby.
The live stage?
Oh my god.
Yes. And I happened to be right there when he came out, him and Ewan McGregor. And that's when the whole clip that you saw on TikTok of like, this is where the fun begins, and I have that live recorded that I posted on there too. He also got emotional when people were like cheering for him, and it made me, even though I'm not a huge prequel fan, like it made me just like, I sobbed because like he deserves that.
Yeah.
All of the hate that he got, and seeing the generation that grew up with him like cheer for him
Yeah.
was so
Yeah.
cool to see,
Yeah.
and for him to realize like, oh, okay, like
Yeah.
it was worth it. It was worth it in the end. People that shame actors, shame on you. You're dickheads. Don't do it.
100%.
The little
That is a
video
major
of backstage
red
of
flag.
Vivian Lyra Blair running up to Hayden, giving him a hug.
Ugh.
It's like, oh, Anakin and Leia. Oh,
It
God.
healed my inner
Yeah.
child.
Yeah.
Oh,
And he's like, oh, hey.
and that was a funny thing. Well, you know, for people like my age, you know, when I was a kid, like, you know, like 8, 9 years old, when like Attack of the Clones came out, I didn't know until I was in high school and had access to the internet that like everyone's like prequels suck. I'm like, oh, we don't like all love these.
Yeah.
This isn't like
Yeah.
It's the opposite for me.
yeah.
My generation were like, oh, God. And then
Yeah.
and then over the years, it's like a lot of people like loving
Man,
the
I loved it,
prequels.
man.
And I've grown a love for them. So like I've changed my tune over the years.
Yes.
And that's you know one of the great things about being in this fandom and having friends, like just like being able to kind of absorb the love that other people have of something.
Yeah.
It gives you an appreciation for it. And then of course Clone Wars and all that stuff helps. But like I go and watch the prequels now. I did a rewatch of the prequels like a week or two ago. Because
Yes.
I was in the mood.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
the thing that like shocked me too. So what the first celebration I ever went to, I stood in line with somebody. He was like my line buddy to meet Mark Hamill. We were chit chatting and like nervous, and I didn't realize how much younger than me he was. And he was like, "Oh, the prequels are my favorite," and I was like, "Oh, okay." And then we started talking, and like watching him light up was how I used to light up about the original trilogy, because I was born in '83,
Yeah.
so like I grew up in the original trilogy. And then I was like, you know what? To be fair, when I was in high school, like the Phantom Menace, I actually really liked it. I saw it like 6 times in the theater because there was a movie theater next to my house, and I would walk there. My mom would let me take my allowance, and I would go watch them. And my big brother was the one who was like, "They're crap. They're terrible." Which he apologized to me like now in our adulthood about it. He's like, "I feel so bad that I did that," because his kids also love the prequels. He made me feel guilty about liking it, and so I feel like that
Oh
shaded
no.
my experience with the prequels. And then now that I've watched Clone Wars, I go back and watch them, and I'm like, okay, I find things to appreciate about them and actually like them now, with the exception of Attack of the Clones. Don't hate me, JJ.
I
I have to, I
movie.
know, I'm sorry. And maybe eventually it'll become like, oh, okay, I really do
It
appreciate
takes time. It
like
takes time. Yeah. No.
Yeah. And it's different because I didn't grow up with it, because I'm also a different age bracket than some people too. So like
Yeah.
I can find appreciation in all these different fans, and the other fans that I see that don't do that, I feel bad for, because like, so you only like the original trilogy, you don't like anything else. Everyone
Mhm.
else is stupid for liking
Yeah.
everything else. That's
Yeah.
really sad, man. I don't know that
That's
you're a Star
yeah.
Wars fan, and
Yeah,
that's
I
really
don't think
sad.
that's what a fan is.
You
No.
literally hate everything else, but the 3 movies that came out,
Right? Like,
essentially.
I'm 40 years old, and pretty much like of course there's things I don't like, but I also don't like focus on that. I really fucking love Star Wars, and I can find something to
Yeah.
like in almost anything about it.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad that you can't. Just
Yeah.
saying. I guess that's a hot take too, because if you don't only like the original trilogy, you're not a Star Wars fan.
Mm.
You know what? I agree with you. Even I
Yes.
can find things about the Rise of Skywalker, the film I
Agreed.
viscerally fucking hate. I can find things that I like about it.
Agree?
Yes.
I will extract things I like about that movie.
Is it
to
Zori?
find
Is it her
joy
name
in it.
Zori? Zori's cool. Her name's Zori, right?
One of my
Zori
Yeah.
Bliss.
one of my top like
Which one was that?
5
Zori Bliss.
Zori
Yeah,
Bliss.
she's
One of my
cool.
Zori
top
Bliss, yeah.
5 favorite Star
That
Wars
was really
moments of all time comes from Rise of Skywalker, and that's when Kylo confronts like the ghost of his father again. Like that scene rips me apart emotionally, and when he says like, "Dad, I know." Like that, oof. Like
Yeah.
if there's one good thing to take out of that movie, that is one
Yeah.
powerful scene.
There's
I
always
think that ripped me up because I was surprised that Harrison
came
Ford
back.
did
Harrison
that. I
Ford
was
came
like,
back.
oh God.
Yep, me too.
And I
Yeah.
think he did that, if I'm being perfectly honest, I think he did that because of Carrie.
Mm.
I really do believe his
'Cause it's supposed to
demeanor,
be Carrie's
his
movie.
whole demeanor around Star Wars, if you have noticed, because I do, because I hyper focus on shit, his whole demeanor about Star Wars changed after she died.
Yeah.
It did. and I think he may mildly regret being like, kill me in the next sequel. You can see it because he actually lights up now. He talks about Star Wars instead of being pissed off about it, and that's interesting.
Have you read The Princess Diaries, like from Carrie Fisher?
Yes, I literally read that a week after she died, and it destroyed my life because I held on to that book, and then I was like, I have to read it now. And
don't read that like post Carrie Fisher's death; it'll break you. That was a bad idea. I shouldn't have done that.
She was so self-aware.
Yes.
Are you kidding me? Like,
oh my
if you
God.
haven't read Princess Diaries, people read it and do the audiobook because she narrates it.
Yep.
It'll destroy you in all the best ways.
Oh yeah.
She's amazing.
Highly recommend that book. Highly.
100%.
Are there any are there any last little hot takes that we have from the group? I feel like even though we had some disagreements, we're on the page for. Oh, JJ's got one. JJ's got the notes.
Yes.
Because I'm reading my notes. I only shared like a few things. Like I said, helicopter sabers are cool.
Yeah.
I love them. Have you seen Visions?
You're weird
Duel,
if you don't like them.
Drowning? I'm sorry. I can love it. Love it, love it, love it. If they make Starkiller canon, it's going to destroy the franchise and the lore, and I will be peace out.
Oh, you're not wrong, but I also like Starkiller.
I do too, but don't make him canon.
You're not wrong.
Let's keep him where he's at. Like Grey Jedi. Let's keep it where it's at in like imagination. I said the Last Jedi creatures are the best. The Fathiers. Vulptexes and Porgs. I will switch my entire Game of Thrones channel into Porg's lore channel.
They are delicious.
They are tasty as hell. They look very nicely cooked and crispy.
People were so mad about the Porgs, but I'm sure people were just as mad about the Ewoks. So like whatever. But
anybody that hates Ewoks and Jar Jar, red flag. I don't want to be your friend in real life. We're not getting coffee or drinks.
My first Star Wars collectible was an Ewok, so I agree with you.
Ewoks hate is weird to me.
Ewoks. It is weird.
Really weird. And anybody that hates Jar Jar Binks, like that character specifically is created for children. To relieve the tension of the trade wars and taxes and whatever all the boring
early 2000s politics.
Correct. Thank you. Yeah, Phantom Menace has pod racing and Duel of the Fates, which I love, but it has like taxes, which is terrible. So Jar Jar Binks comes in. Kids movie. And I wrote that Force is criminally underused in the prequel era. Like no one's using Force. No one's using Force. Even in the throne room scene, which I love so much. Why aren't Kylo and Rey using Force on Praetorians?
Yeah.
Why?
You're not wrong. The hell? But I've only seen the prequels each movie. I feel like we should do a live watch together of the sequels. I've only seen each one twice.
I'm begging. I will do it. And we can do a drunk and watch along. And I have another one because I just started into it. And Nick knows. The Light of Jedi, the intro into High Republic, is a terrible book.
Okay. Hold on. I said this in your comments, but you didn't see it, I don't think. I agree with you. Unless you do the audiobook. If you do the fucking audiobook, it's a billion times better. I can't even explain to you. I promise. Because I got halfway through Light of the Jedi and I was like, I like the characters, right?
Characters are cool.
Yeah, I like all three of the main characters. So if you listen to the audiobook, it will change your world. I'm telling you.
Okay.
Promise.
That's fair.
I blew through the first three main books within a few weeks because of I promise.
Girl, 7 times I tried to get into this damn book. I'm on
reading
page
is boring.
202. And it's interesting now. I don't give charity. I am not a charitable person.
If you want to read Light of the Jedi, do the audiobooks. I promise there's music, there's sound effects. Mark Thompson is an amazing narrator.
Mark Thompson
is,
except for his Mace Windu. His Mace Windu is horrible, which that goes back to the Ventress book. Oh my god. Dark Disciple.
Dark Disciple is the best fucking
Yeah, but his Mace Windu is horrible. Really? The rest of his voices are fantastic though.
Good to know, because the Light of Jedi, it's rough.
I promise. The audiobook is good. Go to Audible, get it, I promise.
Slog of a book, and I read A Song of Ice and Fire for fun, and I claim that. That's crazy. Anyway, so those are all the hot takes that I have.
Anybody else have some last little hot takes?
I feel like my Han Solo one probably was my, my crowning achievement there. That was.
And I agree with you, 100%.
And if I say anything else too hot and JJ's out of tequila, I don't know what happens next on her
She
end.
just spontaneously combusts.
We can't lose her.
Leia thing was the hottest.
She becomes the mother of
we will ever
dragons.
get.
And...
Yeah, the Leia thing hurt me, and like a
Leia hurt.
level.
Leia hurt. Leia
you can't
hurt,
get worse than that.
It became Skip Bayless for a second. Just...
That's it. Leia is the top. You can't hurt me any more than that.
The pain is real. I see it on your face.
It hurt. The Leia one hurt real bad.
And shout out to Element. Hey, and I've listened to most of the High Republic on audio.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And Element did say that. So
the audiobooks are really freaking good. I actually got choked up even the last book. I was like, I walk my dog at night and I'm listening to the book. I'm like, like crying. And one of my neighbors like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good. Don't look at me."
Okay,
Yeah.
can I
I'm
have
hideous.
an honest opinion about that book? Is it a red flag if Marshawn Rowe is my favorite so far?
No.
No. A lot of people.
He's
really
the
like
villain.
that character. Yeah.
So if you're into villains,
it tracks.
no, because he is. There's something about him.
Oh,
I won't.
He's not
disagree.
Thanos. Don't worry.
Elzar Mann is mine personally, where I'm like, hey.
And Bell Zeltifar, and Loden are amazing.
And you're gonna end up loving Buryaga. I love Buryaga.
Yeah.
Burry is my favorite.
Okay.
Well, I've kept you for a couple hours. This has been very entertaining, and I appreciate all of you being on here. I knew as soon as. As soon as I'm like, hey, let's do hot takes, and JJ's like, oh my god, I'm in, and be able to get
I'm
all
there,
of you,
man.
Well, because bringing people on here, like having good hot takes, but then also being able to take other people's hot takes,
yes,
and not take it too personal. You got to find the right
talk
mix
about
of
it
people
and
for
talk
that.
about it.
Yeah, have like good conversations about it. I love this. This is my favorite kind of nerdery. It's just going into this.
This is
the best. I know we gotta have another one at some point. Come up with some different versions because this is super fun. But again, thank you all of you for being on here. But let's kind of go around and where we can find you on the socials again. Christina.
Again, TikTok, Booba Fett, as my screen name shows on this.
Oh, I gotta give a shout out. Say, hey,
Lady
Chris.
Dragon JJ on all my socials.
Yes.
And we are at Duel of the Ranks everywhere you can find us.
And of course, right after this, since some of you are already on YouTube, you can just go follow Duel of the Ranks right away. Go subscribe. Hit that up immediately.
We have a whole section of our show that is dedicated to hot takes. So if you have one, you can submit it onto our website, or you can just harass us on the internet, and we'll probably read it and tackle it on air.
We need to get like
I will harass you about Leia.
Okay.
I'm not even kidding. Like, we need to get JJ whenever there's a week where we're like, what do we say? Just bring her in. She's got something every week. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
I have 5 pages of notes, and I only read 2 pages.
All right, we're gonna.
There's gonna be a whole JJ series on.
Yeah.
We're gonna just like have her like mini host this section. We're like, all right, what's new this week?
I mean, you lost your third.
To me,
so
this is fun because it's a safe space. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a safe space, and we can talk about shit, and we can we can still be friends after it.
Yeah,
every week it's just JJ. We cut to her take, and then Amanda and I just big-eyed, just
what?
She doesn't like Rogue One. No, I'm a Rogue One. I like Rogue One now. I didn't like it a year ago.
Yeah.
We do
and again,
this.
yeah. Shout out to people who just came in the comments. We got Chris, we got Luke and the Podwans. Good to see you all there, and of course, Element Diamond Force. All part of the Star Wars family. I know. I miss all of you. And gotta have all of you in the chat coming on here too. But again, you got Booba Fett. You've got Duel of the Ranks, and go follow them right away. And of course, you got dragonladyJJ. And thank you all for being here. Next week we got Jen Markham. We're gonna dive into her career and her cosplays and all her red carpets that I'm super jealous of every single time I see that. Someday Star Wars will see that I exist. Someday. It's Star Wars, if you're listening, I'm coming for you. But again, this has been Secret Transmissions, and we will see you same bat time, same bat channel next week, 5 p.m. Pacific. Again, thank you all for being on. You've just been wonderful and lovely. Thank you all in the chat for being for adding fuel to the fire. Definitely appreciate that. And we will see